Good morning, everybody. It's Craig here. Day 3. I might have to stop counting as these go on, but at the moment it's the third day of the writing my Untitled novel every day blog. Woke up this morning, started writing at about 6 o'clock and went through till about 9, so I had a really good 3-hour session this morning before starting to get ready for Christmas Eve. And what I focused on this morning wasn't what I thought I was going to focus on. When I sat down to write, I had in mind that I wanted to get a bit more of a sense of the environment and the space that the novel was going to take place in. Yesterday, I was very much looking at scenes and the world that I was sort of building in my mind for the book. And what I did yesterday afternoon was I started to have a look through some art books that I've got, so some new ones that have just come in the mail in the past few weeks. And I was looking through these incredible illustrations, and I was looking at the works of Kim Jong-ji, of his illustrations, and just this mashup of really interesting, sort of fantastical, magical, realist characters and ideas all coming together was really cool. And I thought, oh, that's the sort of stuff I want to pull what suits this book, and to just have a bigger imagination, by crowdsourcing ideas through these art books and such that I've looked over recently in years gone past, where I think what would be good to put in this book. So that's what I thought I was going to do, but instead, I guess rather than the surface level concrete actual things, I actually went much more internal and spent the morning thinking about the motivations of the characters and the underlying philosophy of the novel, and which was something that has been in the back of my mind. What's the purpose of this book? Yes, to tell a good story, but I think it needs to have a philosophical underpinning, or it doesn't really need to come to life. And so that, it led me to thinking about different things, and I have been thinking about different philosophical or psychological ideas that would be interesting to express through the action of the story. And I guess I'm just waffling at the moment, but the key thing that came out from the morning was that it went really well. I had a really good sort of, like I said, like a 3-hour session of writing that was very constant, in which I really got a very complete sort of ideological sense of what is happening across the story, why it exists, what the two key characters that I've got in mind want, and what they need to give each other to achieve their outcomes that they, one sort of knows what they want to achieve, one doesn't know, but they both need each other to get there, and they both represent very particular philosophical standpoints that are contrary to each other, but need each other to establish a particular outcome, which was great. Like, it felt really, had this real sense of relief and this wonderful sort of euphoric feeling afterwards, where it's just like all the pieces of the world just all made sense. You think, yeah, this is a philosophy I can live with. This is what the book needs. This answers all the questions. And as I kept digging through, and it was a little bit like yesterday, I was talking about the micro and then the macro. I would start with sort of quite macro sort of concepts about, is it better to exist or not? These sorts of big existential considerations, right through then to, on a very micro level, about how seriously someone takes a particular relationship, or their relationship to themselves, or their particular cycles they go through their life, and the way those cycles relate to history and Vico and Nietzsche and Hegel, and just all these things that I thought, I can see Faust. I went through a big Faust think this morning, sort of going through Goethe's, sort of 2 parts, especially sort of part 2 of Faust, and just thinking about, it's an interesting thing. Like, it gets to a point where you start, like I kept thinking about a line of poetry that I'd read years ago, and I thought that sums up, I think, what I want to say, or at least what I want to tease out one line of poetry and then turn it into a 300-page book. I thought and I couldn't think of it. I kept searching for a particular phrase, and then it ended up that the phrase actually wasn't what I thought it was anyway. It was something else that was lovely, but not what I wanted. But I think the thing that I was going to say was interesting was the more that I wrote this morning and the more that I had ideas about what I wanted to say and the way that the thoughts were going to express things, I'd put down a thought and then it would lead to another thought that would sort of pull on something I'd read in the past and some idea, and then I picked up a Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Nietzsche, and I was going through and I found a chapter there, a passage on reading and writing, and he sort of talks about a sense of gravity but also a sense of lightness and soap bubbles dancing, and I could only believe in a God who could dance, and some of these really wonderful passages, and there were things I hadn't read for years, but some of the lines, some of the lesser known lines from that passage just completely, really accurately spoke to what I wanted to do in particular parts of this novel. I thought, that's amazing, but is it amazing? I was thinking, is it amazing? Thinking, oh my gosh, that connects so beautifully to what I wanted to say, what a perfect match, or was it always going to happen that way? I'm thinking the things I'm thinking now because I read that particular passage from Nietzsche years ago, so it's not a big cosmic synchronistic mystery that it all comes together. It was always going to happen as long as my memory remembered what I'd read and generated my own version of that now to connect up. But regardless, it all fit and it all felt nice, and I finished the morning with about 3,000 words of really nice philosophical underpinnings to the book. It helped me to structure the action much better in my mind, and I wrote down some action thoughts that connected with the underlying meaning and what the characters were going to go through. It answered questions about the ending of the book. It answered questions about the trajectory of the 6 chapters through the book, and it just made everything clearer. So it was a really lovely, successful morning. One thing I can't help but think is a part of why I'm feeling good at the moment and successful. I mean, part of it is just that, starting a new project. It's all creatively happy and everything's great. But there is also, I think, a sense of the consistency is what is making it successful. If I had have had a few days break, and it's Christmas Eve, I could have easily just sort of slept in. I've got family coming around soon. I could have not committed myself to getting up early and writing. But the fact that I did, I knew I needed to vlog about this later and put it on the blog, have to get the dailies in. I thought, no, I'm going to sit down, do it. I didn't know what I was going to do. Like I said, I thought I was going to do something different, but I ended up in this particular space and it worked out. It feels like going to the gym, you consistently work your muscles, they get better and better. I think the consistency with doing this each day is allowing things to go nicely. And we'll see, I might come up against a really big stopping block soon that challenges that notion, but for the moment, I think the consistency is allowing the river of thoughts to flow in the right direction. So that's a good thing. Thank you. I'm going to stop. I'm really sweating here. It's very hot in the back shed at the moment. I usually do this earlier in the morning, but I wrote and then we did some Christmas Eve shopping for this afternoon and tomorrow. So thank you. I hope you do have a lovely holiday break. I'm fairly sure I'll do this tomorrow for Christmas, since I'm saying I'll do it every day. I can hop up early and write and record a bit, but if I don't for some reason, it will be the only day of the year that I'll miss, I'm sure, for family reasons, but I'll be back very soon. All right, thanks for that.